At my son's engagement party, he announced, we're skipping the traditional wedding. My mother gasped, you're disrespecting your ancestors. His fiancée smirked, we don't care. I sipped my wine and said, maybe you should read this first. When they saw the family contract, their faces dropped. I never imagined my son's engagement party would become a battlefield of traditions and modern choices, but here we are. Michael, my only child, had always been the apple of his grandmother's eye. My mother, Evelyn, a woman deeply rooted in Southern traditions, held family customs close to her heart. So, when Michael announced his engagement to Jessica, we knew a grand celebration was in order. We decided to host the engagement party at our family home in Charleston, South Carolina. The house, a relic of antebellum architecture, had witnessed generations of our family's milestones. Its white columns and sprawling porches had been the backdrop for countless gatherings, and tonight was no exception. The evening was perfect. The garden was adorned with twinkling fairy lights, casting a soft glow over the guests who sipped on sweet tea and champagne. A string quartet played gentle melodies, adding to the ambience. Laughter and chatter filled the air as friends and family celebrated the young couple. As the night progressed, Michael tapped his glass, signaling for attention. The crowd hushed, all eyes turning to him and Jessica. Thank you all for being here tonight, Michael began, his voice steady but filled with emotion. Jessica and I have been discussing our wedding plans, and we've decided to forego the traditional ceremony. Instead, we're planning to elope and have a private ceremony, just the two of us. The announcement was met with a stunned silence. Glasses paused mid-air, conversations halted, and all eyes turned to my mother, Evelyn. Her face paled, and she clutched the pearls around her neck, a family heirloom passed down through generations. The weight of the moment was evident in her trembling hands. You're disrespecting your ancestors, she exclaimed, her voice breaking the silence. Our family has always honored tradition. A wedding isn't just about the couple, it's about uniting two families and celebrating with our community. Jessica, standing beside Michael, tightened her grip on his arm. Her expression was one of defiance, a slight smirk playing on her lips. We don't care, she responded coolly. This is our decision, and we're doing what feels right for us. The tension in the air was palpable. Guests exchanged uneasy glances, unsure of how to react. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of generations pressing down on me. Setting my wine glass on a nearby table, I reached into my purse and pulled out an old, leather-bound document. The edges were worn, and the ink had faded, but its significance was undeniable. Perhaps you both should read this first, I said, extending the document toward Michael. He took it hesitantly, unfolding the delicate pages. Jessica leaned in, her eyes scanning the text alongside him. This is the family contract, I began, my voice steady but filled with emotion. Drafted in 1842 by our ancestors, it outlines certain expectations and responsibilities that come with being part of this family. One of the stipulations pertains to the nature of wedding ceremonies. Michael's brow furrowed as he read aloud, any descendant who chooses to marry shall do so in a manner befitting the family's standing, with a ceremony witnessed by kin and community, upholding the traditions that bind us. Jessica's face hardened. This is outdated. Surely, it doesn't hold any legal weight today. I nodded slowly. Legally, no. But our family has always placed immense value on honoring our heritage and the commitments set forth by our forebears. While the contract may not be enforceable in a court of law, it carries significant emotional and cultural weight within our family. Michael looked up, meeting my gaze. Why have I never seen this before? It has always been passed down to the eldest child upon their engagement, I explained. I had hoped to present it to you under happier circumstances, but given your announcement, I felt it was imperative you understood the depth of our family's traditions. Jessica's eyes narrowed. So, if we elope, what happens? Are we disowned? I sighed, choosing my words carefully. It's not about disowning or ostracizing. It's about understanding the values that have shaped our family for generations. Decisions have consequences, And choosing to break from tradition may strain relationships and lead to feelings of disappointment among those who hold these customs dear. The room remained silent, all eyes fixed on the young couple as they absorbed the gravity of the situation. The once festive atmosphere had shifted to one of contemplation and introspection. Michael turned to Jessica, his expression torn. I never realized how deeply rooted these traditions were. Maybe we should reconsider. Jessica's jaw tightened, her independence clashing with the newfound knowledge of familial expectations. I need some air, she muttered, stepping away from the group and making her way toward the veranda. Michael watched her go, conflict evident in his eyes. He turned back to me, seeking guidance. Mom, what should I do? I placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. Follow your heart, but also consider the legacy you're a part of. Marriage is not just the union of two individuals but the merging of families and histories. Whatever decision you make, ensure it's one you can stand by with conviction. Over the next few days, conversations continued, emotions ran high, and perspectives were challenged. The weight of tradition bore heavily on Michael, while Jessica grappled with the desire for autonomy and modernity. The family contract became a symbol of the crossroads between past and present, and the choices made would undoubtedly shape the future of our family's legacy. Michael didn't sleep that night. I heard him pacing upstairs, his footsteps soft but steady. Every once in a while, the floorboards creaked under his weight. Downstairs, I sat alone in the kitchen, the contract still lying on the counter. I couldn't bring myself to put it away. It felt like this old piece of paper had become the third person in Michael and Jessica's relationship. By morning, Jessica was gone. No goodbye. No note. Just gone. Her suitcase was missing, and her car was no longer in the driveway. Michael came downstairs, his hair a mess, shirt wrinkled, eyes bloodshot. He looked at the kitchen table, then at me, and asked the question I dreaded, "Did you say something to her last night after I went to bed?" I didn't. I told him the truth, that after she walked out to the veranda, I never saw her come back. That I figured she needed space. He didn't believe me. His jaw clenched, his face tightened like he was holding something back. She's not answering my texts, he said, his voice low. Not my calls either. Her mom said she came home at midnight and hasn't said a word since. That same afternoon, Evelyn called a family meeting. I tried to tell her it wasn't a good time, but she insisted. She said, the sooner we clear the air, the better. Before that girl poisons his heart. So we all sat in the drawing room. Evelyn in her high-back chair. Michael on the edge of the couch, staring at the floor. I stood by the fireplace, arms crossed. Evelyn started in hard. She's trying to divide us, she said, like she was reading from a script. She wants him to cut ties and live like strangers. No roots. No past. Just some empty Instagram wedding on a beach. Michael didn't react. Just kept staring at the rug. I could feel something boiling under the surface. I knew my son. He was never the loud type. But when he hit his limit, the explosion was always quiet. Controlled. Sharp. She didn't leave because of the contract, he finally said. She left because she found the letter. We looked at each other. What letter? I asked. He reached into his coat and pulled out a crumpled piece of paper. His hand shook slightly as he passed it to me. It was addressed to Jessica. Written in my mother's handwriting. You are not fit to be in this family. You lack the grace, the heritage, the values. If you truly care about Michael, you will step aside. Let him find someone who honors where he comes from. I felt like the wind had been knocked out of me. Mom, I said slowly, did you really write this? Evelyn didn't flinch. Yes. I did. I meant every word. Michael stood up, the calm in his voice gone. You pushed her out. You made her feel like she didn't belong. And now she's gone, and it's because you couldn't keep your pride out of it. She didn't belong, Evelyn snapped. She never even tried. Michael turned and walked out. No words. No goodbye. That was 4 days ago. Jessica still hasn't come back. Michael hasn't spoken to me or Evelyn since. His phone goes straight to voicemail. And then this morning, I got a call from a lawyer. Michael had submitted a formal petition to dissolve the family trust. That trust holds the house, the land, and the heirlooms, including the contract. I haven't told Evelyn yet. But I'm about to. And I don't know what's going to happen next. I waited until after dinner to tell Evelyn about the lawyer. She was sitting on the porch, wrapped in her favorite knit shawl, a glass of sweet tea sweating on the table next to her. I stood at the door for a moment, watching her. She looked peaceful, like the storm hadn't touched her at all. I almost didn't want to break that illusion. But I did. Michael's trying to dissolve the family trust, I said, voice low and steady. She didn't respond right away. Just kept her eyes fixed on the garden, like she was waiting for some bird to land. When she finally spoke, it wasn't what I expected. So be it, she said. I blinked. What? I knew this day would come. I just didn't think it would be him. I sat down beside her. Why wouldn't you fight it? She finally turned to me. Because I broke it first. When I sent that letter. That's when she told me something I didn't know, something that changed everything. The contract? The one we treated like a sacred relic? It wasn't complete. Apparently, there was a second page. One that had been removed, hidden away years ago after a family scandal. Evelyn had found it when she was in her 20s, buried in a box with her grandfather's things. She never told anyone. Because that second page, it added a clause that would have changed everything. Should any family member put tradition above love, or cause division among kin in the name of legacy, the contract shall be considered null. The line must adapt, or perish. It was written in the same ink, the same paper. Undeniably part of the original document. I stared at her, stunned. You kept this hidden? I asked. Evelyn nodded. Because I was afraid. Afraid that if I let go of tradition, everything else would fall apart too. She reached into a drawer on the porch table and pulled out a yellowed, folded page. The missing half. Michael doesn't know, she said. Not yet. I took the page, my hands trembling. We need to tell him. But Evelyn looked away. He won't believe me now. I've already pushed too far. That night, I texted Michael. Told him to meet me alone. No drama. No Evelyn. Just us. We met the next morning at the old cafe near the harbor. The one he used to go to with his dad before he passed. It was quiet, with just a few regulars sipping coffee and reading the paper. He looked rough. Not angry. Not cold. Just tired. I handed him the missing page. He read it once. Then again. When he finished, he looked up at me with something I hadn't seen in a long time, heartbreak. She lied, he whispered. She was scared, I said. But I think deep down, she always knew the truth. He sat back, staring at the page. Then he said something that made my blood run cold. Jessica didn't just leave because of the letter. She left because she was pregnant. She didn't want to raise our child in a family that might never accept her. I froze. Pregnant? She didn't tell me until the morning after the party, he continued. She was scared. And now she's gone. I don't know where. I felt like I couldn't breathe. My future grandchild, gone, just like that. Michael put the page in his coat pocket. I'm not giving up on her, he said. And I'm not coming back until I find her. But when I do, everything's going to change. He stood up and left. And now I'm sitting here, staring at this family home. This house full of portraits, antiques, and ghosts. Wondering what change is going to look like, and whether any of us are ready for it. 2 weeks passed. No calls. No texts. Just silence. Then came the knock at the door. I opened it to find Jessica standing on our front porch. Her eyes were puffy, her hair tied back in a messy bun, and she looked like she hadn't slept in days. But she was there. And she was alone. Before I could say a word, Evelyn appeared behind me. Jessica's gaze locked onto her. "We need to talk." I stepped aside, unsure of whether this was a good idea but knowing it needed to happen. I followed them into the drawing room, our old family meeting place, and sat quietly as Jessica stood across from Evelyn. Michael wasn't there. He was still staying with a friend in Atlanta. Jessica didn't yell. She didn't cry. Her voice was steady, but every word carried weight. "You wrote that letter," she said. "You told me I wasn't good enough. That I didn't belong." Evelyn sat straight, lips tight. "Yes, I did." "Why?" Jessica asked, stepping closer. "Because I don't have a Southern pedigree? Because I didn't grow up learning ballroom etiquette and silver placements?" Evelyn looked like she was about to respond, but Jessica kept going. "I didn't tell Michael I was pregnant right away because I wasn't sure I wanted to be tied to this family. To you. And after I read your letter, I almost walked away for good. But then he told me about the second page of the contract." I saw Evelyn's spine stiffen. "Yeah," Jessica said. "He showed me. And do you know what that page says? That love comes before legacy. That anyone who tries to divide the family in the name of tradition voids the whole damn contract." Evelyn didn't speak. Jessica turned to me. "He asked me to come back. But I told him I'd only do it if the truth came out first. To everyone." That's when she pulled out her phone. She pressed a button, and a recording began to play. Evelyn's voice. "I wrote the letter. She doesn't belong. She never even tried." A few seconds of silence followed. Then my voice. "We need to tell him." Another pause. "She won't believe me now. I've already pushed too far." Jessica hit stop. "You recorded us," I said, stunned. I needed proof. He wasn't going to believe me over you. Not unless he heard it for himself. Then came the second knock. "Michael." He stepped in, looked around the room, and said nothing. Jessica walked over, handed him the phone, and kissed him on the cheek. "She's going to be born in 4 months," she whispered. "I'm not doing this alone." Michael stared at the phone in his hand, then looked at Evelyn. "You lied to me." Evelyn tried to speak. "I know," he said, voice sharp. "You lied, and you almost cost me everything." She stood slowly, that proud posture cracking for the first time in my life. I was afraid. I thought if we lost our traditions, we'd lose ourselves. "You didn't protect our traditions," Michael said. "You used them like a weapon." The words hit her harder than any slap could have. Her eyes welled, but no tears fell. She just nodded, quietly, and sat back down. Jessica took Michael's hand. "We're not asking for your blessing anymore. Just your honesty." He turned to me. "And you, why didn't you stop her?" I swallowed the lump in my throat. "I didn't know about the letter. Not until you showed me. But I knew about the second page. And I didn't say anything sooner. That's on me." Michael looked around, the weight of the room crushing him. Then he said something I'll never forget. "I always thought this family stood for something strong. Turns out, we were just really good at pretending." And then they left. Together. Evelyn didn't move. She just stared at the fire like it held all the answers she'd never find. In the days that followed, word got around. Cousins called to ask what had happened. Some were furious. Others relieved. A few said they'd always felt judged, like the family name was a leash. Evelyn stepped down from her role as matriarch without a word. She stopped going to the garden club. Stopped hosting teas. Jessica and Michael moved into a small house outside Savannah. Close enough to visit, but far enough to breathe. Their daughter, Clara, was born in the spring. I met her a week later. She had Jessica's nose and Michael's eyes. I held her in my arms and realized something: legacy isn't about contracts. Or ceremonies. Or pearls. It's about truth. And sometimes, telling it is the only way to start healing. I don't know if we'll ever go back to the way things were. I don't think we should. But I do know this: next time I'm handed a piece of history, I won't just read the first page. I'll read every single word.